So Martin, this time I'm gonna ask something about myself. I wanted to ask what does love mean? Because I don't know what love means, and how do you know when you're in love with someone? And is it different from loving someone? So what would you say?
Yeah. I mean, you know how it feels to be infatuated, right? To be
Yeah.
in love with someone, right? Which is, in my opinion, basically a hormonal response in our body to sustain the human race, right? We wouldn't be here if people for hundred thousands of years wouldn't have fallen in love and made babies,
Yeah.
right? So there's an evolutionary biological component, and now science knows that we feel attracted where our genetic material, right, the defects in our genetic material gets repaired better with some people than others, right? And we're attracted to certain body types and things that creates healthier babies than others. And so that's one component. And there's, of course, the hormones, the serotonin, the oxytocin, the norepinephrine, the dopamine, that at different phases of falling in love, the testosterone, the estrogen, that indicate to us, to move towards something. And it gives us this sense of infatuation, of being in love, where we incessantly think about the other person and we miss the other person, and we feel really happy when we're together with the other person. And so that's the biological dimension where we just feel that we're in love.
Yeah.
There's also a psychological component to that, and maybe that's a little bit too complex to go into all the details, but obviously we're totally dependent on our caregivers in our early life, to feel connected, to be cared for, to feel safe, build trust, that we can trust our caregivers to be there for us, to get in touch with our needs and express them even as little children, right? I want this, I need this. And also then eventually to explore our autonomy and then integrate our ability for love and sexuality. And unfortunately, there is always, and that's not intentional, not a criticism, so like a caregiver failure, we could say, right?
Yeah.
The child needs connection and care, and the caregiver is busy or maybe has their own problems, right? Struggling and or don't know how to respond to the child. And that creates what we call complex childhood trauma, right? At different levels between 0 and let's say 15, 16. And so we then project that trauma, right, the way we didn't get loved and cared for in these different phases on another person. And that's the psychological dimension of falling in love, right? We can know, oh, I'm sexually attracted, but maybe not emotionally attracted. And to other people, we're very strangely, right, there's like some kind of soulmate. You complete me. When I'm with you, I'm so relaxed, right? I feel so, it feels like I've known you for my whole life, right? And there's this magic, this amazing connection. And so sometimes there's only one of these two forms, right, of sort of biological love, I called it, and the psychological love. And sometimes there's even a spiritual component. Like when I'm here with you, I'm so present, right? I feel like I can transcend my ego, I can go beyond my limited sense of self. So this is all what falls into the in love phase, and that you're in love, right, with someone when you have these feelings, when you have these experiences. And that can even be a movie star or someone you have never talked to, right? You can have these, or a teacher or a therapist or something like that. But that's different from what I call, loving someone.
Yeah.
Right? So this desire, I want to have sex with you, I want to hang out with you, you make me feel good, right?
The excitement, the feeling that you get when you're with the person.
Yeah.
When you completely forget everything else and I guess you're just in the present.
Yeah.
So is that what love is?
No, that's in a way the being in love part, right?
Okay.
And I sometimes say if somebody has the power to make you happy, right, because you're in love with that person,
Yeah.
they also have the power
To make you sad and
Yeah.
hurt. Yeah.
and unhappy, right? Because as soon as this person doesn't show up how you imagined, or maybe he or she did at the beginning, right, then these old childhood wounds get triggered. And as children, usually we get angry, right, if we don't get what we want, or we withdraw, and if we feel bad, we think we are bad because we don't know yet, right, that we cannot take care of ourselves, we don't understand the other person. And so that's often when we feel like, oh, I'm no longer in love, right? I've fallen out of love. And we go into fear, right? I'm afraid of losing that person, or it's the wrong person, or this person will hurt me, right?
Yeah.
And what's the opposite of love?
Fear.
It's fear, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of strange, right? We love that person, but we're also somehow afraid,
Yeah.
right? Or frustrated, or have some other negative feelings.
Yeah. And it kind of goes hand in hand, like, whenever you fall in love with, or you're getting into that process, you always have something holding you back. And I just didn't realize that our childhood experiences have so much impact, and or
Yes.
everything that you've repressed sort of just comes out during later years of your life. And
Yeah.
it's very like it's something new to me. So
And so when we, in a mature adult way, love another person, right, versus having the crazy infatuation, whatever, right, means that we're opening up to overcome this fear and to support each other to heal our childhood wounds, right? So that means I want you to heal and get over your fear so that you can love openly, not only me, like get more in touch with the life force, feeling more alive, feeling more connected, right? Feeling more safe, feeling empowered to be in touch with your feelings, express your needs, and you do the same thing for me, right? So when people love each other, they can say, that really hurt me, or I got really afraid, and I want to talk to you about it, because in you then lovingly responding to me helps me to heal this wound, right? To empathy and compassion. And of course, that takes a certain level of maturity, but love is, being in love becomes the vehicle for then loving a person in the way that not only I want you to be happy by me being nice to you, but also you accepting the challenge, right? And me being there for you to heal this childhood wound.
Yes.
And so that's a different form of love.
I also think that sometimes I used to think that maybe it's the situation and that I need to change the situation, but I just feel like sometimes, like from what I learned over here, it's like perspective, like how you don't necessarily have to change the situation, just the perspective, the way you look at it. Like, maybe I would have looked at it 2 weeks ago from a different point of view, but after this conversation, I'm thinking of it from a different perspective. The situation is the same, but the way I'm looking at it. And
that's a very good way of seeing that, right?
Yeah.
And the big shift, and that also I was in therapy once, and I was yelling at my therapist, and I said, she's hurting my feelings, she's doing that to me. And he very calmly said, oh, Martin, we're learning this the hard way. And what I then realized is that, like, she's just stimulating or triggering a pain, something that's already in me, right?
Yeah.
So she's like, just pushing a button that she hasn't installed. And that was really a huge turning point in my life, where I stopped saying things like, oh, you're hurting my feelings, right? Or you're treating me badly, or something like that. And okay, treating me badly can of course be an inappropriate treatment, but if I just have a strong emotional reaction, I learn first to look at where is the reaction coming from. And then when I calm down, then I can say, well, do I really want to be with someone who maybe breaks agreements, or,
I think that's a very beautiful way to put it, because when someone hurts us, we just analyze that, okay, this person hurt us, but we don't realize what triggered, why it made us feel this way. And people don't question that a lot of times. And I think it's important to understand why we're feeling a sort of way, because of course we can't control actions of other people.
Right.
So, it's what I can control. And if I can't control it, then I guess I should just,
Yeah.
remove myself from it.
Yeah.
So
That's a mature love where we realize, I have what we call agency. I have the power to choose my response in any given situation.
Yeah.
And if I respond from pain and hurt, right, old trauma, then of course we push the other person away. We get back to fear and shame.
Yeah.
If I own my feeling and say, oh, I really got scared, or this really hurt, I felt sad, but I know it's my stuff, right? And I'm open and willing to deal with it. That brings us closer to mature love.
Yeah.
And there are, of course, many other dimensions of what love means. So, of course, we love other people when we share the same interests, right? We have the same love languages. And ideally, we also have a real shared purpose for the relationship. So that's something I emphasize on. What is the purpose of your relationship? Right?
Yeah. People, I didn't think about this, but that's something very interesting.
Yeah.
Something like triggered inside of me to think, like, what is the purpose of my relationship?
And it needs to be aligned with your life's purpose. So you need to ask you, what is my life's purpose? What is the life purpose of my partner? And can we co-create, enhance our life experience, or even only live our life purpose like two hands, right? To work together and share this purpose. And that usually creates a very deep connection and love, and the inspiration to work on our issues and to learn, heal, grow, and awaken.
And that sort of, when you're doing this with someone and you're sharing these emotions and you're being compassionate, that's when love really, truly, you start to feel that. Like you truly start to feel comfortable enough to share everything, to open up wounds that you couldn't with anyone else. And I just feel like that when you're able to do that, that's, I guess, where you realize you really do love that person.
Yeah, you really love that person.
Yeah.
You're not only in love with that person.
Yeah. That's very interesting.
Thanks, a great question.
Thank you.